Do Bills fans have it worse than Pirates fans?
No, not even close.
Well, why would you just rush to that? You're not even going to let me.
I have a very strict feeling on this, but I will let you expound.
At least with the Pirates, you go into a season where your expectations are set low enough where the potential for heartbreak and misery really doesn't exist. You're prepared for it. You don't get your hopes up. Bills fans get hopes sky high. Mm-hmm. They go way up through the roof. And then they come crashing down in epic fashion where they invent ways to lose the biggest of games, Chris. And if you're a Pirates fan, now we haven't because of our age, but like your dad has watched them win championships. Your father has seen it happen here. If you're a Bills fan, you don't count AFL championships. You've never seen it. So you're constantly chasing it. You're constantly looking up at that brass ring. And lately, you think you're going to win it, and you don't. And the late 80s and early 90s, you thought you were going to win it, and you didn't. Mm-hmm. I think that's harder. I think being a fan of a team that is always right there but never gets it done is worse than never having a chance at all.
Donnie, you a big fan of old Lord Alfred Tennyson? Big Al, they called him back in the 19th century. I have no idea
who that is.
Lord Alfred Tennyson. Is the man.
It's better to have loved than to never have loved at all. Is it one of these stupid things, Malsey?
He is the man who coined the phrase, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." And I will take, you know what the thing is that makes the Bills situation so much better? It's also what makes it more painful pretty much every year when it happens to them the way it happened last night. They have real hope. They have one of the few cheat code quarterbacks in the league. Even though his cap hit goes up like $30 million this year to next, and it's going to be harder to build a roster around him, which is why it felt like for them, this is the last shot, like best shot of this era. It's not the actual last shot because he's that good. When the Pirates lost in 92, I was 7. I didn't really understand free agency or any of that stuff, but people older than I was knew that was the last gasp of it. They knew Barry Bonds wasn't coming back. They knew that nucleus was getting broken up. They had no idea it would take 20 years to get back to a playoff berth.
Yep.
But I will take every time the pain of expectation and having my expectations, having them fall short than not having any expectations at all, man. Rather hurt than be numb, for sure. Was that profound?
Knowing your personality, I'm just very surprised to hear you say that.
Why? Because I'm a nihilist?
Yeah, so you're just someone that just, you'd rather just have, go ahead. I don't think much of myself anyways. Just let me be a human punching bag and just pile it on.
Yeah, that's like my own perception of self-worth. But like the teams I'm cheering for, give me something to cheer for. And if you rip my guts out, I'll at least have felt something. Like when your team in any sport, and I'm not just going to limit it to the Pirates. I understand it's the Pirates we're talking about right now. Almost every year it's felt like very minimal chance that, like when they were 20-8, I wonder how many people in this town genuinely felt like this was going to sustain over the course of a whole season.
I mean, we talked to a lot of them. It was pretty split. A lot of people were like, they're the Pirates. It's never going to happen. It's only the first month of the season.
And some people allowed themselves to hope.
They did, yes.
But I would just much rather have the situation that the Bills have where for as long as 17 on that team is healthy and playing, you know you're going to be in the mix and genuinely in the mix.
I don't know. I just feel like when I hear Starkey talk, it doesn't matter if they have just Josh Allen. He just thinks the franchise is cursed. And they're always going to come up with a way to lose. And it doesn't matter if they have this unicorn quarterback who has all the physical gifts in the world. Something is going to happen that is going to cause their fans immense sorrow and heartbreak, and it's never going to change.
Aren't the Lions, though, like a combination of the Bills and the Pirates, and they're one game away from playing for the Super Bowl? Like, they actually watched a guy leave there and win it as
I think
the
Lions analogy is much closer to the actual Pirates and the Bills because up until this year, they had one playoff win in the last 60 seasons. Now they've got 2. I mean, they're never in the conversation, kind of like the Pirates are for the most part. Very, very rarely
I just think this idea that the Bills fans have it tougher just undersells the fact that fans generally want their teams to be relevant. Either my team is going to suck this year because they're going to try to get the best player in the draft at quarterback, or my team is going to be pretty good.
Donnie, who do you think has it worse?
Hold on. The worst part of the purgatory the Steelers are in is they made the playoffs, and they haven't felt since 2018. If that team had made it because they were peaking at the right time, it looked like.
Yeah.
But they haven't felt like a team that was relevant on the NFL stage since at least 2018.
Donnie?
I'm actually on Chris's side here. At first, going into this, I thought, oh, it's easy. I'm going to say that it's worse to be a Bills fan because you get you get everything pulled out from under you on the biggest moments. But the thing is, they're in those biggest moments. And I know how much that sucks. I mean, yeah, the Steelers won things whenever I was a kid. They won 15 years ago. But I also endured them losing a little bit, at least before they got to that point.
The guy who lives at home with mom and dad, who has no responsibilities, no bills to pay, watches all the games he wants, eats pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, has never had a girlfriend, has never been divorced, had a tough breakup, never had his heart ripped out, has no real stresses. That guy's got it way easier than the person like the Bills who's like, she's the one, this is it. This is the year my entire life turns around, and then it comes crashing down again.
Okay, why do I have names of people floating through my head right now when you're describing each of those people?
Here's what I'll also say about that is that person, I think, is viewed as much more successful than the first one you said.
But who's happier? Who's a happier individual? The person who's just completely aloof and out of touch with all that stuff and just goes through life like it's a lark with no stresses. You know the Pirates are going to be, because of the economics of baseball, are never going to be super duper competitive. Maybe once in a blue moon they get into it like 13, 14, and 15, but we know it's damn hard. That's a lot easier than when you're a Bills fan and you're thinking, this is the year, this is the year, this is the year, and then missed field goal, 13 seconds, wide right. So on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather be in those big games. I'd rather be one of the most relevant teams in the league. Like, all right, it always ends badly. It always goes south for them, seemingly in the biggest moments. But, I mean, there aren't many teams really besides the ones that carried us through, like, the 2000s that have been more relevant right before my birth and to this point than the Buffalo Bills. Like, they were always playing in big-time games. They were always one of the marquee teams in the NFL. Like, yeah, they had a bad stretch where they were far less relevant. That would actually be a good question for people in Buffalo. Would you rather the team look like they did
during the drought
in the mid-2000s with J.P. Lossman, or would you rather it be like it is right now? I know what my answer would be.